Welcome to Release Readiness Live. I'm Elna Miller, your community moderator. I'm excited to be here this week as we talk about some of the great new features in the Winter 20 release across all the major clouds. We're here this morning with the team from Salesforce Platform. What I love about Release Readiness Live is that no matter what kind of Trailblazer you are, whether this is your first Salesforce release or your 20th, you'll learn something new that you can use. Our product team is right here in the studio to review the features and show you some live demos, as well as answer some of your questions on the air. Speaking of questions, let's just take a quick moment to review how this works. We will be monitoring both the Release Readiness Trailblazers community and Twitter. And the most important thing to remember is to use the hashtag SalesforceLive. I recommend posting your longer, more detailed questions in the community where the conversation can continue after the webcast. We do have a no question left behind policy, so if we don't get to your question on the air, we will be sure to follow up with you within a few days. Now, we are recording this broadcast, so you can watch it back whenever you like. Now, since we may be covering the roadmap and making some forward-looking statements, please make your purchasing decisions based on currently available functionality. All right, so now let's meet our product managers. Starting with you.
Okay, hi. Hi, my name is Tim Dubois. I'm really excited to be here. I'm a product manager on the Lightning platform. I focus on user engagement and some of the more global features, and I've been with Salesforce for just over a year.
Hi, Jason Teller here for Flow. I hope you have been watching all the other Release Readiness Lives where my colleagues Tim Peng on the developer preview and Shannon Hale on the admin preview have been telling you about all the great features we have in our Winter 20 release. And the reason for that is today, this morning, we're going to bring all of that together with an employee app, a new hire onboarding experience courtesy of Flow. Stay tuned for the demo.
Hi, I'm Pankaj Prasad. I'm on the mobile product team. This is my first Release Readiness Live, and I'm really excited to talk to you about the new Salesforce Mobile App.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shintong Zhang. I've been at Salesforce for 5 years. I'm a product manager from Lightning Shared Services. Today, I'm very excited to talk about Dependency API, where is this used, and Bulk API version 2.0. Stay tuned.
All right, thank you. Oh, this is going to be a good one, so I want to just dive straight in. So Tim, over to you.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm really excited to talk about the new Lightning Recycle Bin. This is a true to the core feature from Dreamforce. It has over 55,000 idea exchange points, and we know it was a gap in Classic, so we're really excited to bring this to you in the Winter 20 release. The nice thing is we have built the Lightning Recycle Bin with the power of list views. So out of the box, an admin will see 2 list views. They'll see all the items that they've deleted. They'll also see the entire org's list of deleted items. And users will, of course, see just the one. But because it's in list views, you get all the power of the list view functionality. So you can create your own list views. You can use the filters. You can use search, pinned lists, etc. You can also create charts. So we have a lot more functionality, hopefully, with the list view functionality. We have also provided an undo in the delete toast. This is a nice little feature if you've accidentally, for example, deleted a record. You will see an undo in the confirmation toast, so you can quickly change your mind and restore that record if you'd like. The one thing that is still pending, we're hoping to have it in the next release, Safe Harbor, and that is the mass delete. So emptying the entire org recycle bin is something that we're working on diligently and hope to have that very, very soon. All right, next up, scoped modals in console. So today, when you go to create a new record or update a record and the modal pops up, it takes over the entire screen. With a scoped modal functionality, that modal is now scoped to that particular subtab. And so you can continue to multitask across other subtabs while that modal is still open. And my last feature I'd like to talk about is in-app guidance. This is a very exciting feature. Customers have been very excited about this. And it debuted as beta in the summer 19. And we are now fully GA in the Winter 20 release, and we're very, very excited about it. The in-app guidance is really about simplifying the learning for users at the point of impact. It's in the app itself. The admins can very, very easily create targeted, customized prompts to help the users understand either new functionality, change functionality, or help with onboarding. The admin can do all of this with just clicks, no code. It's fully declarative. And the nice thing is if an admin does not feel comfortable creating the prompts themselves, they can easily give permissions to another user to create those prompts. It's also fully reportable. So on the home page itself, you can very quickly see the number of distinct users that have seen a prompt or have clicked on the primary action button. You can also create custom reports to get very detailed down to the actual prompt and the actual user that have seen and interacted with the prompts. And finally, there's full packaging support, so you can create managed packages and full licensing support. So if you want to put a managed package up on AppExchange, you can control the licensing down to the end user level. All right, so enough of slides. Let's show you a quick demo. Okay, I am in my setup of my org, and just want to show you where I am, under in-app or user engagement, under in-app guidance, I have a few prompts that I've already created. So if you're familiar with the beta release, there's a lot of things that are the same. Something that's new is the ability to turn off all of the Salesforce authored prompts. There's been a few use cases that customers have had where they'd like to turn off the prompts that we've created, mainly around the fact that they've customized their UI in such a way that those prompts don't make sense anymore. So we've provided the ability for the admin to go ahead and turn those off. You can also turn off all prompts that you as an admin have created. And on the row level actions, I'd like to mention we still have of course, the edit, the preview, the resetting the metrics. So if you've edited a prompt that existed before and you edit that quite a bit and you wanted to sort of reset it and relaunch it, you can easily do that by resetting the metrics. Of course, you have delete and deactivate. The thing that we've added in Winter 20 is the ability to clone. Now, the other important thing I want to mention is the test button. In the beta release, you could add a URL parameter to put it into test mode. Now, the reason testing was difficult to do in the beta was because of that. But the thing that's hard for admins to figure out is they've created a prompt, and now they want to test it. Log in as a different user, see if John Smith, for example, sees that prompt. Behind the scenes, what you don't see is an orchestration framework. And the orchestration framework is like the air traffic controller for the prompts. It makes sure that prompts do not collide. It also makes sure that a user will only see one prompt per 24 hours per app. So the test mode actually puts you in a mode where it negates that 24-hour cooldown. And we provided a banner at the top of the screen to let you know that you're in test mode. And what you're going to do is once you it opens up the new browser tab, you'll start seeing all prompts that exist on that page, including the Salesforce authored prompts. This one is a Salesforce prompt for the new mobile app. And as I go through and dismiss these, you'll see all those prompts that are available. Okay? So it makes it much easier to test to make sure that those prompts are working as expected. Now, to show you some of the other things, you see the number of views and the percent completes. This gives you an idea of how many users have seen a particular prompt and how many have clicked on the primary action button. Now, to create a prompt, I simply click on Add Prompt. I'm going to open up an authoring bar. Now, the authoring bar is nice because it not only helps you create the prompt, but it also tells you how many prompts already exist on a particular page. So in this case, I can see I have one for pinned lists and undo. And as I traverse across the different tabs, it'll show me which other prompts exist here. So I'm going to go to contacts. Now, let's say, for example, I'd like to highlight the fact that there's a new recycle bin. So I'm going to click Add Prompt. Now, you have a choice right now of two types of prompts, a floating prompt and a docked prompt. The floating prompts are meant to be simple, gentle nudges. You have up to 120 characters and expected to just highlight some sort of new feature, for example. A docked prompt lets you be much more verbose. You can put up to 4,000 characters in place. You have some rich text editing. And so the nice thing with a docked prompt is that the user can collapse it down, they can open it back up, and they can continue to work through the information in that prompt as they complete the task. In this case, I'm going to create a floating prompt. Now, I want to highlight that the recycle bin is available in the app launcher under all items. So in this case, I'm going to choose my position to be the top left. Now you have to be careful. You want to make sure you preview because you don't want the prompt to cover over the thing that you're trying to highlight. Now for permissions, I can choose everyone or I can specify different permissions. So you'll see that I'll have all the permissions that are out of the box plus any custom permissions that I've created. I'm going to choose everyone for now. And now I'm going to author my content. So I'd like to say, check out the new cycle bin. Go to App Launcher under all items. Simple as that. Now I give it a dismiss button. It could be OK. I'm just going to say, got it. And now you can put in a primary action button. This is an optional thing. But if you want to drive users to learn more about a particular feature, this is a great way to do it. So under the action, I'm going to say, hit the trail, and I put in my URL. I don't remember a particular one, so I'm just going to put in Salesforce and move on. All right, now I can schedule. What's nice about this is it's going to default to today's date. You can put in an optional end date, or you can forward schedule this to show at a certain time. And I'm going to change my times to show to 3 and 7, explain what this means. So it means that this prompt will show a maximum of 3 times with 1 week in between each prompt showing, unless they click the primary action button. If they click the primary action button, you've basically driven them to the final action that you wanted them to go do. Say next, and I'm going to call this cycle bin. And then I click save, and I will see the preview. And now I see that it's showing up right underneath the app launcher. And if I hit the trail, it'll open up a new browser tab with whatever it is that you wanted them to go read about. And that's it. Click done. Now I'd like to go back to the slides and show you what's coming. All right, so where are we going next? The biggest bit of feedback we've gotten from customers is around walkthroughs or multi-step prompts. So this is the ability to stitch those prompts together so you can have a sequence. So we're working diligently on this, and we hope to have this available soon. The other one is around full control of that display. I mentioned that there's a 24-hour cooldown between prompts. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from admins, and we get it. So we're going to give full control over that 24-hour cooldown period, so you can change that to whatever makes sense for your use case. We also are going to be adding profiles. So permissions will stay, but we're going to also add profiles so you can mix and match to have more control over who sees those prompts. And we are also adding full translation support, so when you create a prompt, you can go to the translation workbench and do all your translations, and you can also package those up. We are also going to be providing much more fine-grained control over the Salesforce authored prompts. So today you saw that there's a master switch to turn all of them off. We would like to display all of those. There's about 40 or so Salesforce authored prompts, and we will allow you to individually turn those off and on. And then we're really excited to marry the in-app guidance that we have with Flow Builder for the ability to create journeys. That's what we're calling journeys anyways. And the ability here is now you can take your prompts, you can take your walkthroughs, and you can assemble those into an overall story. So from an onboarding perspective, you can say, show my user a prompt on day 1, day 3, then maybe a walkthrough, and then you can have that conditional branching. Did they actually create the thing that you wanted them to create? If not, do something else. So we're really excited about this feature and jumping into that. We also are going to be creating targeted prompts. You may have seen one of those prompts show up that was the dark blue that was pointing to an element on the UI. So we're going to add the ability to author those. And then other types of gentle nudges. So instead of always showing a prompt, can we author tooltips or other types of guidance in the UI? And eventually we'll be getting into the mobile app support. So I'd like to give you a glimpse into where we're going with walkthroughs. So I'd love to get your feedback on this. And this is just some UX mock-ups, so these could change, just FYI, but I just kind of wanted to walk through what this would look like. So instead of having a modal that pops up that you saw where you create everything, in this case, you will have a right panel that pops up. And if I choose walkthroughs, I'll now quickly see there's different types of prompts that I can choose, floating prompts, doc prompts, eventually targeted prompts. We may even add more types of prompts or even custom prompts. So in this case, I'm going to choose a floating prompt, and you'll see a left panel when you choose walkthrough as well, and I'll see each of those steps showing up in the left panel. Now as I go through and I author my content for that particular prompt, another step is added. Now I skipped a couple steps. I'm choosing a docked prompt at this point. And again, I author my content, I save it. And when I'm done adding prompts on the different pages, I will now get into the point of finishing off my walkthrough and putting in my global features. So I put in any actions that I have, the frequency, any profiles, any permissions, and finish that up. And eventually, the end user would see something along these lines with a next button going from page to page to page. And that completes my demo.
Wow, I gotta say, we do this thing in the Release Readiness Trailblazers group called the Treasure Hunt, and people put in, what is their favorite feature from the release. And I gotta say, Recycle Bin was #1 by not even a short stretch. So
okay.
That's a very anticipated feature, and great to hear that it's a fully powered list view and really exciting. Now, there's a lot of customers who were anticipating this because they were using it in Classic, and a lot of times they want the same functionality that was in Classic plus more, and you've given the plus more already. But what about things like the empty the recycle bin? Like, is that in this release, or what about the or empty my recycle bin?
Right. So we're still working on emptying the org-wide recycle bin. We hope to deliver that soon. And there's a question on emptying my recycle bin. In Classic, you could empty the recycle bin of all the records that you've deleted as an admin. So we're wondering, we'd like to get feedback on that functionality because there is a delete button. You can delete up to 200 records at a time. So we're questioning whether or not we need a mass delete for my recycle bin.
Now, if they wanted to give feedback, how could they do that?
On the Trailblazer community that you mentioned earlier.
Didn't you just post something earlier?
I did post something there this morning, so please give me your feedback. I'd love to hear from you.
Excellent. Now, that in-app guidance is getting super powerful. I mean, the amount of functionality that you're adding, and I love what's coming with the being able to build it in context. So is that an extra cost, or is that included with Salesforce?
That is part of the platform itself.
Wow. That's amazing. I can't wait to see what happens next with that. Now, I know that there's been some beta releases of this before, and is it GA in Winter 20, or is it still beta?
It's fully GA in Winter 20.
And so what are the differences between the summer release going from beta to GA? What are the main
Some of the main things that we did, we fixed a lot of things to make sure that it's solid GA. We added cloning capabilities, and we have full licensing support for the packages. Those are the main features.
Now, quite a few people asked literally simultaneously at the same moment, Andy, Blair, Isaac, and some other folks, is in-app guidance going to be available for communities?
Unfortunately, right now, in-app guidance is not available for communities. It is on our roadmap, and we hope to have that available at some point.
Okay, so we'll look forward to I could definitely see a lot of use cases there, so I understand why people asked about it. And then Chris was asking, regarding the recycle bin with the list views, does that mean I can create a list view that just shows deleted records of a particular object, like deleted cases or deleted opportunities, perhaps?
That's the beauty of it with list views. You can create your own custom list views. You can filter by who deleted the record or what type of record it is, and have your own lists and pin any list that you'd like.
Nice. That's great. Stacy was asking, can in-app guidance be deployed through change sets?
Yes. If you want to move from sandbox to production, change sets are the recommended approach.
All right, and I'm going to do one more question before we move on, and we'll see if we have time at the end for the rest. Is there a way to show on a specific field or a button as a default, just like a default prompt shows up on maybe the help, there's the little help thing. Can you have prompts show up at the field level?
At the field, not yet. And so if the question is more around can a prompt be triggered by an action, not yet. That is also on our roadmap.
Great. All right. Well, I think we are ready to move on to Jason, and I know you've got some exciting stuff too, so take it away.
Thank you, Elna. Yeah, thank you, Tim. Looking forward to that flow builder joint that we can do, help you out with the in-app guidance. I think that's going to be really exciting when you can actually do the step-by-steps with flows as well. So, like I said earlier, we actually have been building up to this point with Tim in the developer preview and Shannon in the admin preview, where we're talking about all these great features we have in Winter 20. And what I want to start with is a demo of essentially an employee app, which will go through all these features and a couple more, such as scheduled flows as well as next best action in the course of that actual demo. So let's start with a quick slide overview of the primary personas in our demo here. First off, we have Eric. He's a new hire at Brightbank. And Kat, his manager, the hiring manager, Kat Lawrence, is going to fill out his new hire onboarding flow. That's actually going to include equipment provisioning as well as access sharing. And what's interesting about this is that this whole demo will really show you how powerful Flow is, because through a simple user-based experience, you can actually not only update and create and automate Salesforce actions, but in this particular demo, we're actually going to go and talk to third-party integrations as well. We'll be able to actually create access sharing for Slack channels for Eric, as well as Quip folders, showing you 2 different ways you can actually do these third-party integrations, all through a simplified UI experience, and it's very seamless to both the users. So with that sort of setup, let's dive right into the demo. Now, like most good applications, we're going to start with the user, and in this case, the user is actually the employee, Eric. So we're going to start with email. This is Eric's email. It's nice that he only has one email, but that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one email. This email was actually generated by a scheduled flow. Now, what's a scheduled flow? Well, that's a new feature that we actually have in our Winter 20 release. Scheduled flows are basically empowering admins to create batch jobs. Now, you don't have to use scheduled Apex or batch Apex. You can actually create a scheduled flow. And in particular, this scheduled flow was set to run every day around noon. It goes ahead and checks all the applicant records, and it figures out which applicant is going to start inside of the next 2 weeks and shoots them an email to go ahead and start their onboarding process. So that way, by the time they get to their day 1 orientation, everything they need to do has already been taken care of. This is really powerful because it means that nobody actually has to sit there and figure out when's the applicant going to start, when should they get the information, how to do it. They just go ahead and let the automation do its job. So when I click here on the link that's sent in the email, I'm actually taken to a community portal. In this case, it's the actual employee portal for new hires. And as you can see, we have a nice, rich user experience with Brightbank saying, "Welcome to Brightbank. Let's get you onboarded." So that way, Eric feels very welcome. In this particular example, he actually gets to update his contact information, which will be used subsequently in the rest of the new hire onboarding process. And why is this important? Well, as it turns out, Eric's full name is actually Erickson Ware. But he doesn't go by Erickson, he goes by Eric. So here's the opportunity for Eric to go ahead and make that change to his applicant record. So that way, all the downstream systems that may actually use his contact information, his ID, any sort of email setup, anything else that he needs, is actually going to use the name that he actually wants to have there. Now, oftentimes this may happen because somebody calls him up and talks to him, but then you risk sort of fat fingering it or something else happens in the whole process. But by doing it with Flow, directly with the employee, we ensure that that information is accurate as we go through the flow. So we've gone ahead and filled this out. Eric has given up his contact information in this particular flow, and his hiring manager has now been contacted to go ahead and continue the onboarding process. So again, really cool because nobody had to get involved. The automation kicked off the email, the flow went ahead and updated the contact information. Now the hiring manager via flow has actually been contacted to go ahead and continue the onboarding process. So let's hop over to Kat Lawrence. Kat is Eric's hiring manager. On Kat's profile, she takes a look and she sees a chatter post. The chatter post says that Eric has just completed his contact information. Please go ahead and review his applicant record. So by clicking on this link here, you can actually go to Eric's applicant record, and we can go ahead and take a quick look here, and let me refresh it really quick. We can see that in the applicant record, the update to Eric's first name has been actually made, so that way we have, instead of Erickson, Eric for the entirety of this onboarding process. A couple other things to point out here, the next best action component. So the recommendation here, based on the intelligence we have that's been gathered by the next best action around employee orientation, is that Kat should actually remind Eric to bring his ID documents for day one orientation. Let's make sure it's a smooth day one for Eric, and so we have that recommendation here. The other thing to take a look at is the actions and recommendations component over here on the left. There's a lot of ways to look at this component. The best way to think about it is this is basically a flow launcher. It allows you to launch flows directly related to this particular record, in this case, the applicant record for Eric. And in point of fact, you can actually, using the record action, tee up specific processes and flows that you want to run associated with this particular record and have them run. You can pause them. It'll show you where you are in the flow. The component itself is extremely powerful. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead as Kat and run our new hire onboarding flow. So when I click here, it's going to go ahead and run this flow. A couple things to point out in this particular flow. First of all, you have the flow stages. These are really powerful as a mechanism to provide a seamless UI experience. It shows the user where they are in this particular flow. If the flow branches, you can dynamically change the stages and reflect back where you are in this overall process. The other thing to point out here is this entire flow screen has been created with out-of-the-box flow components. So the first name, last name, position, etc., even down to this department here, which is actually a dependent pick list. So I can go ahead and specify the department and the dependent pick list role for Eric as I create these records for him. When I click next, we're actually going to go ahead and start building an employee record. So we had an applicant record, now we're building an employee record for Eric, and we land on the outfitting page, where where Kat can basically choose the equipment that Eric is going to use. This highlights one of the really big features we released in our Winter 20 release, and that is conditional visibility. Basically, by using the toggles here, you can decide whether or not you want to show a particular field, all of it done with point and click inside of Flow Builder. In this case, let's give Eric a laptop, a MacBook Air. Will they need a desktop? Probably not. How about a mobile phone? Let's go ahead and give him an iPhone XS. We should probably update the demo to include the iPhone 11, but XS is all he's going to get for now. Conditional visibility works both ways. You can either show something based on toggling it, or you can hide something based on a selection. In this case, we're going to hide his desk because Eric is actually a remote worker. Now, when I click next here, what's going to happen is we're actually going to be creating records, not only for the employee record for Eric, but also for the related equipment records to provision him for this equipment. And all that's done with a simple set of clicks and a very seamless UI experience. So that's the first part of the flow. Basically, we're taking Salesforce and provisioning all his records and getting things set up for him. Now we'll move to the second half, which is going to be using third-party integrations to set up different access for Eric. So in this case, first we have Slack. This company uses Slack. We want to make sure we add Eric to the right channels in Slack as part of this process. So what we have here is an Apex callout associated with a custom Lightning component to pull in the information that he needs for Slack. There's even a welcome message here. Now, just to prove to you how real-time this actually is, I am going to go ahead and shrink this screen a little bit and show you I'm logged in here on the right top as Eric into Slack, and I'm logged in here on the right bottom as Eric into Quip. So first, we're going to go ahead and create those Slack channels. As soon as I click Next, we are doing a direct call out to Slack to create those channels. And if you blink, you probably missed it, but here it is. These are the two Slack channels that we've essentially created for Eric as part of the onboarding process. Next up, we're going to create add Eric to a couple shared folders. So let's go ahead and add him to the Brightbank escalation process, as well as Kat's direct reports. Two shared folders that will be very useful for Eric when he gets onboarded as soon as he shows up for his day one orientation. When I click Next here, similarly, we are going to go ahead and make a call out to Quip to go ahead and create those shared folders for Eric. If I open the shared folders here, you can see that both of these folders have actually been created, or I should say shared with Eric, so he can see them directly in the screen here. So that's great. We've gone through an entire process of basically creating a bunch of employee records and associated equipment records inside Salesforce for Eric, two third-party callouts to set up his access sharing, and finally, we need to wrap up this entire employee experience by sending Eric an email to let him know everything is all set for his day one orientation. So when I click Next here, it will go ahead and send that email to Eric. So let's take a look. Did it actually send the email? Well, let's go and take a look at Eric's email. Turns out he's got a couple new a new emails here for folks. And this one from Kat actually shows all the information that we basically went through. Welcome to the team, Eric. Here's your new hire information, your onboarding buddy, your hiring manager, your Slack channels, as well as your Quip folders that we've essentially provisioned for you as part of this entire process. So there you go. You have a seamless onboarding process that starts with the user, the employee, and ends with the user, the employee, that's fully automated with simple point and click that is seamlessly taking you through an employee application of a new hire onboarding process. Now, just to prove that we've actually done all the work in the background as well, not just the third-party integrations, I'm going to go to the employee record for Eric and show you here by clicking on employees that this record was actually created with the proper contact information. And we've got 2 contact records here that we selected as part of the flow, his MacBook Air as well as his iPhone XS. So all this automation done in the background through a seamless user experience. Now, let's take a look at how some of this was built. When I go into setup here, I'm going to go to my flows. And the first thing you'll probably notice when I go to flows is that we have a new Lightning list view for flow. So pretty cool. We get a lot of sort of improved UX here in terms of one click to go to the actual flow. We have the right drop down here where we have very specific access to details, and versions. We've cleaned up a lot of the UI. A lot of the confusion that people were having before about where to go has been resolved with this Lightning list view. Now, of course, if you would prefer to use the classic list view, if you go to process automation settings, you can go ahead and disable this and go back to your classic list view in case there's anything specific you needed there. In addition, the Lightning list view actually allows you to see what we call standard flows. So a lot of our partner clouds, such as Financial Services Cloud, have been creating out-of-the-box standard flow templates that you can leverage, and all of those will show up here inside of this Lightning list view. Now I'm going to start by showing you one of the flows that's unique to the Winter 20 release, and that's this new hire email send. So if you watch Shannon Hale's presentation, she actually talked about, in the admin preview, she talked about how the start node can now be moved around. And yes, that is true. But here's another thing you can do with the start node. You can actually double click on it. So now that you double click on the start node, we actually introduced a new concept called a flow trigger in Winter 20. What's a flow trigger? Well, if you don't select a flow trigger, everything works just the way it did before, where you can go ahead and activate your flow, etc. But in this case, we've added what we call a schedule trigger to basically initiate a scheduled flow. By selecting a scheduled trigger, you can set a schedule here with a start date and a start time, as well as a frequency, once, daily, or weekly, in order for this schedule to actually run. So like I said, this is empowering our admins to create batch jobs by themselves. You then can optionally specify a set of records to run the flow against. In this particular case, we've selected the applicant object. That is basically the Eric Ware applicant object that I was talking about. And under the conditions, we're basically saying, if this person is starting the next 2 weeks, go ahead and send them an email. And that's how we started the entire onboarding process with that email, if you remember, from the beginning of my demo. So scheduled flows are really powerful because it eliminates the need in many cases for you to actually do looping. By doing this query up front and setting it to a schedule, and then you run a flow on each of the records that gets returned by the query, you don't have to get a list of records and then iterate through it using a collection variable. So you'll save yourself a fair amount of performance in that particular case. Also, you avoid, in some cases, hitting the limits that you may run into. And you can schedule all this to start at a given point in time with an amount of regular frequency. So really, really powerful feature, scheduled flows, introducing in Winter 20. The second thing I want to talk a little bit about is the actual flow that we ran through for the new hire onboarding. So if I go here and I click on the screen flow, I can show you another feature that Shannon talked about, which is if I zoom out a little bit, I can actually do some panning. So I'll pan around here and you get to see what the top level flow looks like. Now the really cool thing about this flow is that, as I mentioned, these blue icons here are the screens. That's the entirety of the seamless user experience that we created. Through using these screens, we are able to take the user through a very simple experience that uses language they understand and provides all the functionality that they need. But in the background, automation is taking care of a lot of the work for you. On the left-hand side here, it's basically the decision logic as well as the subflows that are creating the equipment provisioning that we provided in the screens themselves. On the right-hand side here, we have a number of Apex actions that are essentially the third-party callouts to Slack to pull back the information for the channels and then go ahead and create those channels for Eric, as well as pull back the Quip folders that we can assign him to and then share those Quip folders with Eric as well. So here's really the overview of what I was saying before, how powerful Flow is. It allows you to, through a seamless user experience, both make updates to specific records inside of Salesforce, as well as third-party integrations, and the user doesn't have to be aware of any of that. There's no switching between record pages, there's no swivel chairing to other third-party integrations or different tools or systems, all of it through a very simple user experience using Flow. And as you can see, it's incredibly great for the user to provide that sort of experience via an employee app. So that's the entirety of the demo. Let's go ahead and shift back to the slides. So one of the things that I showed you inside of the demo is actually our next best action functionality. Now, inside of next best action, we've got a couple improvements that we made from Winter 20. The first is with the next best action strategy builder. We actually are providing undo, redo support inside of the strategy builder, similar to how Flow Builder works. In addition, we're providing the ability to actually build expressions in a much easier way for the branches inside of Strategy Builder. Essentially, you can just add a different condition and then fill it out that way to build out these expressions. And then finally, we're also providing an integration guide to using the Strategy Builder as well. From a strategy management and basically packaging perspective, we actually have the ability now to create strategy templates. This essentially is like Flow templates, where you can actually create a strategy and have it templatized so that it can be copied and edited and used by an actual customer. In addition, we provide IP protection for non-templates. So similar to the sort of standard packaging strategy, now that you package a strategy up, you don't necessarily have to reveal all that information. You can just have it there and have it be run by the customer. And then finally, as far as the recommendations experience, the recommendations component goes, you can now call auto-launch flows from a recommendation. If you remember previously, anytime you selected an action on a recommendation, you'd be calling a screen flow. What it means now is that you can actually call an all-launch flow rather than a screen flow from the same type of selection. We also provided support for home pages with the recommendation component, so now you can actually have an NBA, next best action component on a home page. And we also provide the recommendation title inside of the component as well, as you can see there on the slide on the right. Highlights for Lightning Flow Next Best Action. In the sort of build-up through the developer preview as well as the admin preview, now today with our employee app, we've been showcasing a lot of features in our release, but we haven't actually gotten to all the features we delivered in Winter 20. Couple more highlights. You can actually restrict flow access by user profiles, so you can say which user can actually run a flow. We actually have customized flow error handling using standard events. You have event-based alerting with flows, as well as some enhancements to our platform event usage. And then, of course, we have more around next best action that we can actually demo. We're actually going to be doing a special Flow edition of Release Readiness Live that we're recording tomorrow, where we'll be going through a lot of these, as well as showing you a bit about how we build the demo. So please tune into that as soon as it's available. But wait, there's even more. We are actually proud to announce, or I am actually proud to announce, that we have 30 plus new Labs Flow templates that are going to be showing up in the Flow solutions in the App Exchange over the next several weeks. This is really incredible because Flow templates, as you may have recalled from a previous Release Readiness Live that I presented, eliminate blank canvas anxiety. If you don't know where to start, the best place to start is to take a Flow template from the Flow solutions, install it, and run it. And we're going to have 30 more coming in the next several weeks. So I'm not going to give you all the details now, but go check it out. There's a lot of really cool stuff showing up in the Flow Solutions category in the App Exchange, and these are all free. You just go ahead, click and install them, and you're off to the races. And finally, as I mentioned, learn more about how we built the specific demo. We always get questions, it's a great demo, Jason, and the other Flow PMs, but how did you guys build this? Well, in our Flow Winter Features section tomorrow on what I'm calling Flow Pirate Radio, aka Flow Automation Preview Winter 20, we will be going through how we built this demo, as well as talking through a lot of the new features we have. So watch for that. It's going to be recorded tomorrow. It'll probably come up hopefully in the next couple of days, but it'll take everything you saw, go into detail, and give you even more.
I'm speechless. That was amazing. And Flow is a huge release for Flow, Winter 20. So the admins out there who have been using Flow, they're all very excited, especially scheduled flows. I know that was also a big one in the treasure hunt. It was in our top 5. And a lot of people are mentioning it too on the air today. Powell, Jake, Alex says, thanks for the early Christmas. The onboarding is amazing. I wish I had that when I was an admin and I had to build an onboarding process. from scratch.
It's really helpful, to just have that easy user experience without switching back and forth and updating, trying to figure out what you're supposed to update, like everything. Yeah.
I've also noticed that Flow is getting really much easier, much more declarative and easier to learn and use. And those admins who are just starting to dip their toes into automation, they can really they can build more powerful flows without really having a deep learning curve. So really appreciate that as well. And the templates, of course, I know those have been in demand, and that's amazing that you've added 30 in just one release. So there's some questions, and I'm going to try to get through a couple of them, and then we'll need to move on. Again, we will follow up with you afterwards, and plus you'll want to watch that other video, and you may have some questions from that as well. So Andy was asking, can you schedule a flow and still have it be auto-launched via other flows or process builder?
That's a really good question. At the moment, the schedule and the auto launch flow are sort of linked together. It is something we're exploring in terms of being able to sort of split those out. But because of the way the scheduling works and the fact that it has to go ahead and contact the flow and the object context, we're actually keeping them scheduled and then auto launched together for now.
And Deborah was asking, in the flow screen, what is the flow component that provides the path visual?
That's a really good question. It's actually a wrapped version of our path component. So if you actually go to the help documentation, we actually have the code there. All you have to do is copy it, create the component, and you're basically off to the races as long as you're using stages inside of the flow. I wanted to add something really quick to the previous question around the scheduled and auto-launched. You can, however, of course, copy the flow, remove the schedule, and then you basically have your auto-launch flow to be called there as well. So it's not like you have to rework everything, but just like the, 2 entry points isn't something we support right now.
Gotcha. And there's a great question from Selena. Can you do the same flow onboarding steps for someone that will not be a Salesforce user? So, and I bet she's thinking of, when you're onboarding an employee, they don't always necessarily have Salesforce. They might be using other systems or just general onboarding, getting their badge, right? Things like that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So one of the reasons, and you'll want to tune in to our extended session to learn more about this, that we provide the user profile-based access to run flows is that so you can, say in a community, not necessarily be an actual Salesforce user and then go ahead and run a flow. Now, obviously, you have to make sure that you follow sort of the security permission set guidelines and things like that, hence the point about the user profile access, and then there's the update and create records that you have to do. But it is possible to go ahead and sort of construct that in such a way that you can leverage flow and not necessarily be a Salesforce user.
Gotcha. All right. I know there's a lot of more questions out there, but we do need to keep going because we have even more awesome stuff to show you. So, Pankaj, I'm going to hand it to you, and we'll circle back with you for questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Elna, and really powerful stuff, Jason. So my name is Pankaj Prasad. I'm a mobile product manager, and I'm really excited to get to talk to you about the new Salesforce Mobile App. So in 2013, Salesforce originally launched the Salesforce One app, as many of you guys may remember. And at the time, we used the best technology that was available to us. But over the course of the past 6 years, we've seen our customers, our partners, all of you admins, customize this in ways that we never really imagined at that time. Of course, as we've gone over the past 6 years, we also launched Lightning, and the Salesforce mobile app and Lightning weren't working in conjunction. So about 2 years ago, we basically started from scratch to rebuild the entire Salesforce mobile app, and we're really excited to launch this here in winter. So what is the new Salesforce mobile app? It is right there. It's really made up of 4 main innovations. The first is the new Salesforce mobile app is built on the Lightning platform. And what this means is now all of your Lightning apps, your Lightning customizations, all of your Lightning web components are now readily available on mobile. We've also brought our intelligent services to the mobile app. So Einstein Analytics is now available within the mobile app, so you can embed dashboards into record pages and view reports directly from the app. We've also brought Einstein Voice directly into the mobile app so that your end users can make voice dictation updates to records. And I'll show you how that works. In addition to the security that we've built inherent into the mobile app, we've added enhanced security as a feature. So now you have mobile application management functionality built directly into the mobile app. So for our regulated for our regulated customers, you can do things like limit the ability for your end users to take screen captures or to copy and paste fields or to run the Salesforce app on a jailbroken device. There's a lot of really great stuff in here, and I will show you this in our demo. So in the Winter 20 release, this is going to be a opt-in for our customers. So you can go to the setup, and there's a quick start guide in there, and you can enable this and phase this out for all of your users. We wanted to give our admins the ability to control the rollout to their customers through the winter release. In the spring release, we're planning on upgrading all of our customers to this new experience so that they have the latest and greatest of what's available in mobile. We've added a quick start to the setup in the Winter 20 release. So you can go to Setup, and in the upper left-hand corner, there's actually a link to it. And it's really simple. You can click Upgrade and have the permissions added to your organization and add users to a permission set in order for them to see the new mobile app. So with that, what we wanted to do was make sure this was really easy for all of your end users. So what we've done is we've added in the mobile app a mobile-only app. That's the default user experience. So all of your end users on initial launch will actually see all of their existing items that they're used to in the Salesforce, classic Salesforce app, so that when they come into the new experience, they're going to know exactly where to find all of their items and be able to do their work. But because this is built on the Lightning platform, all of your Lightning apps are now available in the Salesforce mobile app. So let me actually show you what this looks like. All right, so if you can see my screen here, I'm going to go ahead and launch the new Salesforce mobile app. And you can see initially I have a tab bar here at the bottom. The first tab is actually Einstein Assistant. So real quick access to our voice dictation technology for our field users or end users to make updates to records. We also have favorites, search, and notifications here at the bottom, as those are some of our most commonly used items in the mobile app. In the spring release, we're planning on bringing to the mobile app the ability to have these tabs be the first 4 tabs in your Lightning apps, customizable. When you click Menu, you'll see this mobile-only app I just referenced, and this is actually all of the items that were available in the existing Salesforce app, so your end users will be able to find the things that they were using before. But of course, if I go to the app launcher, I now have all of my Lightning apps available. And so if I do the side-by-side with the desktop experience, you can see that the app launcher on desktop and the app launcher on mobile are now mirrored. And to show you how tightly coupled this is, if I were to move the Sales Executive app, for example, to the first position on desktop and refresh that on mobile, you can see that that's now the first position. So really unifying the desktop and Lightning experience. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Sales app here, and you can see that all of my tabs on desktop are now in the same order as they are on desktop. And so if I were to move one of these tabs on desktop and then refresh on mobile, you can see that the tabs are actually updated on mobile as well. And we've gone one step further and allowed you to customize the tab bar at the bottom as well. So really powerful unification between the desktop and the mobile. To show you some of the other capabilities, I'm actually going to go to Opportunities here. And you can see that we've redesigned the opportunities, the record pages in mobile to mirror what's available in desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the same opportunity here on desktop. Now this is a fairly vanilla configuration, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to customize this using the app builder to really make it very useful on mobile. So here in the app builder, you can see you have your desktop layout. You can click on Phone now and see a mobile preview. And what you see here is actually mirrored on mobile. And you can actually just drag and drop all of these components that are available to customize this page to really make it useful for all of your mobile users. So let's go ahead and add, for example, a path component. I will add a flow component. That was a cool demo done by Jason. And I'm actually going to create this to be an in-person questions. The admin has gone in and created a custom flow for the field users to actually ask these questions when they're on site. And I'll also add a get there component so that our end users have an easier time finding finding this account. So this is a really simple component that we built that allows an end user to actually click on the Uber, Lyft, or Google link and actually link out to that app. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save here and refresh on mobile. And you can see my screen didn't refresh. Let me try updating this. It looks like my emulator's frozen. Demos. Yeah, of course, right? Let me just try opening that again.
I'm looking at it right here. This is worth waiting for.
Yes.
By the way, the mobile app is also in the top 5 of the treasure hunt, so
Awesome.
very exciting.
So we are using a new laptop for this, and it looks like it is just spinning. So why don't I go to here while I wait for this to come back. So some of the things that I was showing you was all of these new components are now available on mobile, giving you the ability to really customize record pages to what you feel is most interesting or relevant for your end users. So we have a new highlights component. We have the ability to have progressive rendering, so these record pages work really quickly on mobile. We've added a new news component as well, and giving you the ability to really update these record pages. Okay, so now if you go back to my demo here, you can see that when I refresh, the path component comes up, the get there component is now there, and we also have this really cool flow. So your field users can go in and actually ask these questions in person. In this particular instance, the question is, do they need additional services? And you can actually select telephony or maybe video conferencing and click next and go to the next question. And the cool thing about this with flows is that in the background, it would actually create the opportunity for that new service as an opportunity, as a child to the existing opportunity.
Yeah, that's really cool, Pankaj. I mean, you're really flowing like a pro there with that with that really cool flow. I love how it's built into the mobile experience as well, and like you can do it on the spot when you need to. And not only can you actually create, say, a Salesforce record for an opportunity, but here's an opportunity, no pun intended, to go ahead and do a third-party integration to, say, actually provision that service if you needed to do it on the spot, all through a really simple user experience.
Yep.
So great example there.
Yep. And so as an end user, I can make these updates. After the event, I can actually use the Einstein Voice Assistant, see one of my, go to one of my templates that my admin has created, and use voice dictation to actually make the update. Now, because this is built on the Lightning platform, there's actually a number of different apps available. So if I was now a sales executive, let me actually go full screen here. I could go into my sales executive Lightning app, and now this app is specific to that particular persona. And so this particular persona cares a lot about their dashboards because that's how they keep track of their business. Because Einstein Analytics is now available in the mobile app, I can click on the Sales Analytics home and natively see all of the different dashboards. So here I can keep track of my business. I can scroll down and look at my forecast. I can do a drop down there and go to my leaderboard. And within just a couple of clicks, be able to see all of the things that I need to be able to run my business from my phone. So in addition to all of the new functionality we're bringing to the mobile app, we've updated the iPad experience to be a single column. This will allow admins to have the same layout for their phone as well as for iPad, so that they don't have to maintain an additional layout for iPad. And of course, now we also have the iPad available via browser, so you can have the full desktop experience available via browser. And Tim, I think there's some exciting news that happened today with this.
Yeah, I'd like to just mention one thing. It was a complete coincidence that Apple is releasing the iPad OS today, according to their website. And what's going to happen if you upgrade to iPad OS is you will see, by default, the full desktop experience on your iPad. So you'll no longer have to enable Lightning experience on desktop. It's going to happen by default. But what that means is whatever your experience is on the desktop is what you're going to see on an iPad. So you will see Classic if that's what your standard experience is, or Lightning and or the switcher. So just be aware of that. That changes, or that iPad OS update is out there as of today, I believe.
Awesome. So in addition, we're also bringing this enhanced mobile security to the mobile app. And so this will give you as an admin the ability to push down policies relevant to your business, to lock down the Salesforce app with the mobile security that's relevant. So for example, you can actually have limit things like the Salesforce app running on a jailbroken device. You can ensure that end users don't copy and paste screens or take screenshots. And so there's some really exciting features that are built into this. And of course, this is actually available in the summer release, but we think it's a really powerful addition to the new Salesforce mobile app, which is the notification builder. So now with this new mobile app, you can actually have use the custom push notification builder to build notifications for really any object within Salesforce in any event. And so some of the use cases that we've heard our customers really take to is, for example, if a large opportunity is closed lost, sending a push notification to all of the executives in the company. Or if a opportunity is created with a dollar amount that is significant for the business, similarly, sending a push notification to all the executives in the business. And really, because this is a platform feature, there's an unlimited number of ways to customize this, and we're really looking to our admins to take advantage of the power of this.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. Is that you're finished? Okay,
Yes.
Great. Yeah, because we have lots of more questions coming in, and also I did want to mention that I know you've been encouraging people to try out the new Salesforce mobile app because it doesn't go into the App Store until, what is it, mid-October?
Mid-October, yes.
Right, but you can try it out now if you want to. And in fact, we encourage you to do that. And Pankaj has posted in the community instructions on how you can even win a plushie, which is on the screen there. And you can also look at the Picks from the Pack newsletter in the Release Readiness Trailblazers group, and you will find a link to his post. But definitely we want everybody to try it out, and you can try it out in your sandbox, enable it there, and have a few people kick the tires, play with it, and see how you can configure it just like the desktop. So just want to mention that. Mm-hmm. And then also there's a question from Deborah, which is a really good one. If users are still on the classic UI, mm-hmm. so this would be at the user level,
yep.
They're still on the classic UI, can they still use the new mobile app, or will they have to stay on the old one?
Yes. So the answer is yes. If an admin enables Lightning for the org, then the end user on Classic can get the new Salesforce mobile app, but it is contingent on the admin enabling Lightning for the org.
Right, so you can have Lightning on in the org and still have your users in Classic.
That's right.
Totally fine, as long as, and it's going to be on for everybody anyway pretty soon, mm-hmm. with the auto activation. So
that's right.
It's probably not going to be an issue, but yeah, definitely you can roll that out first if you want before you roll out Lightning on the desktop. Mm-hmm. And then Powell was asking, can you have a different page layout for mobile versus the desktop?
Yes, you can. So that is actually how most of our admins are configuring their mobile layouts today. One of the powerful aspects of unifying the mobile and desktop experience is desktop pages will now render on mobile, so you don't necessarily have to have two different pages. But if that is something you want to do, of course, that's available.
Great. Now, is this a separate app that you have to download, or is it an update to the existing one? How is it actually going to work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the new Salesforce mobile app experience is going to be part of the same app that you download from the App Store. You can actually, as an org, as an admin, have users be on the classic experience, as well as the new experience controlled by the permission set. But it's all in one single app. It's not two separate apps that you have to maintain.
So the app has two experiences?
The app has two experiences.
Wow, that's fancy. I've never heard of that before. Okay, so that's great. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so we're going to move on now to some API goodness. So hand it over to you, Xingtong.
Yeah, exactly. Great job, folks. I can see that our admin communities are so pumped up to try out your features. And I am here to bring some goodies to the developer community. And don't worry, admins, I have something for you as well. All right, sorry. Let me just go to my slides. I'm gonna start from dependency API. All right, dependency API. What kind of problems are we solving here? When we say that Salesforce has been growing over the last 20 years, become #1 CRM and #1 platform, don't forget that our customers are growing with us as well. Many of them have admins and developers gone through many iterations of customizations. And unfortunately, at this point, it's extremely challenging to completely understand what's going on in their work. Questions like what kind of dependencies there are, what impact does an action have, and how to start on cleaning up our orgs are super hard to answer. So as a result, our customers filed an idea exchange idea 12 years ago asking for this feature, which has since become one of the top idea exchange ideas with 37,000 points. We are delivering dependency API to solve that problem and to simply answer the question, how is a particular component referenced by other components? And now let's take a look at what is dependency API. It's just a new virtual entity in tooling API that stores the dependencies between metadata. You can access these virtual entity and getting the information about both the metadata components that's being referenced to or the metadata components that's referencing the others. You can access information about the components such as ID, name, namespace, and type of the component such as Apex classes, layout, flow. I know, Jason, you got a lot of flow callouts today. And I'm going to dive into more details about how dependency API works in my demo. Stay tuned for that. And this feature is currently in beta. It's available in all sandboxes. We're working on the GA for future releases. On top of dependency API, we're building a declarative feature. Hey, admin, this one is for you. This gives you visibility into how a particular custom field is being leveraged by other components. This feature is currently in GA over the last release. There is a where is this used button accessible in all custom page definitions. One click of it, it gives you all the places that referencing the current custom field. Without further ado, let's jump into the demo. I have created a custom field on my account object that's called archived. Now that I go to the custom definition page of this custom field, you would instantly see a new button available that is called Where is this used? And when I click on this button, it's going to give me a list of all the components that's using this custom field. In this case, there are an Apex class, another custom formula field, and a layout referencing my archive custom field. Clicking on any of these reference label is going to take me to the setting of that reference. In this case, I'm clicking on the account layout, and then it's going to instantly taking me to the account layout setting that is using my custom field definition. And as I said, this user experience is built on top of Dependency API. So now let's go back to my CLI, and I'm going to execute a similar query that produces the result for our UI page. Now I am going to run this tooling API query. I'm going to query against the metadata component dependency table, which is the new virtual entity that we expose and stores the references between metadata. And in this case, I am querying for the references to my custom field definition. This ID, if we go back to the UI, is actually the ID. Oh, I can't see URL from here. Yeah, the ID was definitely, it's just the same ID I grabbed from my custom field definition page. And then with that, I'm going to hit enter. As you can see, it's going to return identical result as the UI page. And one thing I do want to call out is that the declarative experience is focusing on giving you references to a particular custom field. And Dependency API is more powerful because not only does it work for custom field, it also gives you all the references for other type of metadata. You can query Dependency API for all the references to an Apex class, validation rules, flows, and etc. So it has become a super powerful tool for our developer community to detangle their work, clean up their works, and you name it. With that, I'm going to go back to my slides and talking about some considerations that you should be aware of. As I talked about before, Dependency API is a beta feature available in sandboxes only, and it does come with some restrictions. Each query would return no more than 2,000 records per query. So please making sure that your query is more specific to obtain a complete result. Additionally, some where clauses are currently not supported. Something important to call out here is that we do not support filter by component name. Back to my earlier demo, I was asking for all the references to the custom field with my custom field ID. I cannot use another filter called give me all the references to my custom field name equals archive. That is currently not supported, mostly because of performance reasons. The good news, though, is that moving forward, the team are definitely working on relaxing some of this limit, and in longer term, we have planned to support async dependency API queries, which means that with one query, you would have the power to query references in large scale against the entire work. With that, let's switch gear and talk about Bulk API 2.0 query. This feature GA last release. It is a more efficient way to query large volumes of records. Compared to Bulk API 1.0, it has a ton of advantages. 2.0 doesn't require developers to batch their payloads, and all the results are returned in one set. Additionally, limits has been simplified and they're made available through Limit API. Also, 2.0 implementation is better integrated with other Salesforce APIs, such as it doesn't require a special X-SFDC session header, and it supports all the regular OAuth sessions. Last but not least, we do have a pilot feature called Mass Operation APIs. Often, our customers want to perform mass operations on many records. An example of that is maybe you want to mass update the owner or the status of many context records. With Mass Operation API, it simplifies the way that you could conduct that operation. So if you're interested in joining this pilot, please get in touch with us through Trailblazer communities. Our PM for this feature, Chris Harrison, will be reaching out and getting you involved.
All right. Thank you so much. That was great. Now, I want to just let you know that Christopher says he feels like you understand him. You really do. He says it's important to leave an org cleaner than you found it, and where this is used is huge. So he says thank you to everybody who brought that. And Lindsay is also very excited about that feature and thanks you for it as well. Now, a couple of quick questions for you. One is, are there any limitations or gotchas for where is this used?
Yeah, that's a great question. As I mentioned, where is this used is based on top of dependency API. So the limit I called out before, that each result side would return less than 2,000 record, still stay true for where is this used.
What about types of fields that it works on? Are there any limitations around that, or does it work on standard, custom?
Yeah, where is this field used, it's only supporting custom field. Gotcha. So the button is only available in custom field page. But the team is working on supporting standard field in future releases.
Okay, great, thank you. Now, in a subscriber org, do references from a managed package show in the result set?
That's a great question. No. So the dependencies that were made within the managed package itself do not show up in the subscriber org. But once a package is installed in the subscriber org and you are establishing new references to the components within the managed packages, those newly created references would be reflected in our result set.
Gotcha. All right, thank you for that great answer. Now, we do have a couple more minutes left, so I'm going to try to sneak in some additional questions for some of the earlier speakers. So let's go back to you, Tim, and talk about some of the recycle bin questions. So Christy was asking, can we prevent users from accessing or deleting items from the recycle bin in Lightning?
From deleting, so the delete button that's in the recycle bin would only be for admins.
Gotcha, okay. And Anil was asking, this is for in-app guidance, can we embed a video URL with tutorials, or can you put in screenshots so that people can actually view the screenshot right in the modal without having to go to a separate URL?
Right, great question, and we are working on that. We hope in a very soon release, we'll have the ability to embed a video and/or images into the prompts.
Gotcha. All right, and this is Squire's asking about something we were just discussing before we went on the air, which is the in-app guidance is great, but users sometimes are quick to close them without really looking at it. So is there any way to track the actual use? Like, are people actually clicking on the OK button, or are they dismissing? Yeah,
actually, that's great. Yes, you can. And you can see that right up front on the homepage itself. You can see the number of distinct users that have clicked, that have seen the prompt itself, and it gives you a % complete of the number of users that have clicked on the primary action button if there was one. However, if you'd like to get even more details, you can create a custom report and get down to which prompt, which user, and you can go crazy.
That's great. So if people are dismissing them a lot, you can go, hey, give me some feedback.
And you get that instant feedback, so then you can tweak your engagement approach.
Nice. I love that. Okay. Now we're going to move over to flows. So Jake and Alex were both asking, are there any limits on the number of flows you can schedule, or how many can you schedule, I guess?
That's a good question. So you can basically schedule as many as you want. They do actually get queued up. And then we do have a maximum number of records that will be associated with that sort of scheduled flow when it runs. And so the sort of out-of-the-box limit to that is, I think, is 250,000. This is all going to be documented. Or I think is it 200 or 300 times the number of user licenses. So actually, we followed the exact same pattern as Apex. in that particular case, but it is a separate set of limits specifically for scheduled flows.
Gotcha, thanks. Andy wanted to know, is there going to be a search bar for the list view for flows? And by the way, people love the list view for flows. That's another popular one. And then second question from Andy is, how do I see the versions of the flow in the new flow list view?
Okay, good questions. So first of all, is there going to be a search bar for the new flow list view? That's a good question. One of the challenges that we had, we did actually want to introduce that with the new flow list view. One of the challenges that we ran into was that trying to search across both the custom as well as the standard flows, which is sort of the power of the new list view, it's a bit tricky. And so it is something that's on our backlog. I don't have an ETA for it right now, but we're definitely aware of that. In sort of like in lieu of that, you can definitely set up your own filters and custom views to basically pull up the information you need, and that effectively can do the same thing. You just aren't just sort of typing it straight in.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Great questions, and we are out of time, so we're going to have to wrap up for today, but keep those questions coming. And thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. If we didn't get to your question, don't worry, we'll follow up within the next few days. And also, this has been recorded, so you can rewatch it again if you want to watch those demos again and share it with others. So come back again tomorrow. Join us for the Service Cloud session starting at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And I really can't wait to hear how you're using new features, trying out the mobile app, etc. So let's keep the conversation going in the Release Readiness community, where all Trailblazers can meet to be release ready.